Hi, I want to talk about my weight loss journey. I'm sitting here at 40 or almost 50 pounds down that I haven't been at in over 40 years. And I want to tell you the truth about the whole process because I think it was very unique, me getting to this point. And I still feel I have further to go, but I recognize that I needed to implement not just one thing with my GLP-1 drugs, but not two, but perhaps three or four things that are all tools that help me move forward with a healthier body. So I want to share this with you because I don't think sometimes the picture of what people share on the internet is not as real as maybe what I'm experiencing. I've been successful, but I've met a plateau, which is a very interesting place. I'm feeling curious about it. I'm also feeling a little bit stuck. So I really want to share where I am, what's next steps. I'm almost close to 2.5 or more than 2.5 years of taking a GLP-1 drug called Mounjaro. In August, it'll be 3 years. What's this journey been like? It's been difficult at times, but I want to share openly and honestly. So if you're thinking about taking a GLP-1 drug, or if you're currently on a GLP-1 drug, I just want to share with you my experience and some things to consider. I'm MC. I have a health psychology PhD, and I've been working in medical research for over 30 years. And the truth is, I've learned that research is very useful, but it also is something where if it's a pharmaceutical company, they're trying to get a drug to market as fast as possible. And I don't know sometimes if that's necessarily the best approach when people are using it once it's in the market. And I think that's where I came from when I considered taking this drug. So let's talk about it. I would love to see you here each week where we can share openly and honestly our experiences and motivate each other or question what's going on or be curious about our healthcare because truthfully, my goal of being on this platform is to really open our eyes about the complexity of our health and wellness so that we can be as healthy as we desire well into our 80s and 90s. And what that takes is being intentional every single day. Sometimes successful, sometimes not. But we get up every morning and work towards that goal. Let's share. Please subscribe. Please join me here. Press the like button. Share it with other people. So why am I talking about my my weight loss journey, my health journey? I really see it as a health journey. I don't see it as just losing weight. I think that's always been my process. I don't think about my weight loss journey. I really think about my health journey. For so long, and I've shared on this platform, I was so scared to go to the doctors. And even in therapy, I was so hesitant to do any medications or do any kind of prescribed restricted dieting or anything. I just found it all so complicated. I did try. I think what happened triggered me emotionally. And if you're an emotional eater, hello, I am, and you're someone who has a complex history around weight and about your life as a young person where there were traumas and complexities, I think that the weight loss journey is not just that one thing. I think for me, it's about the whole process of how do I keep inspiring myself each day to do what I need to do despite all the things that are either a trigger or frustrating or the rigidity that has to be put in place. Sometimes I find it sometimes a bit challenging because I really rebelled against this when I was a young person. I was one of those people who secretly ate. So I would look perfect in front of people, right? But behind the doors, I was secretly eating because it felt so unfair. Felt unfair. It felt like everybody was watching every bite I ate. And so I hid what I ate a lot. And truthfully, that's been a challenge to overcome, but I'm getting there 40 plus years later. But I'm still struggling with the emotional eating and struggling with the sweets. It's something I think I'm always going to have to confront. I even turned it over to my higher power today during my journaling. So, why do I bring up my challenges? And I think key is that on paper, before taking this drug 2.5 years ago, I had really thrown in the towel. I had tried Saxenda back in the day, and it made me vomit like madness. I forget how many things I tried. There's so many. It was endless, endless. And I think it was a hard thing because every time I would try something, I would have a little bit of success and then it would blow up in my face, either with some kind of severe side effect or just nothing happened. Contrave didn't do anything for me. Wellbutrin did. I think Wellbutrin has helped me a great deal, and I'm still on Wellbutrin. But I believe that when I began really this journey back in the mid 90s and opening the door to the complexities of what I was facing, I knew that to find the right thing for me is going to be a challenge because I had so many issues. I had PCOS and I had a hereditary background of overweight. The genetic predisposition in my family is heavy. And also, too, I'm not somebody who's always going out like an athlete. I'm someone who loves to read. I'm a musician. I'm sedentary. I do walking and I do exercising some, but I'm not a big exerciser kind of person. I will make an effort. But I believe that we all have to look at our process of how we engage with food and how we engage with our health and how do we engage in thinking about this whole issue if you've been overweight for many years. There's never going to be just one tool. It's always going to be about like having a toolbox of things that you can choose from. I know that's the case for me. When I finally heard about these studies that were being successful and they were in diabetes, the medical evidence that I needed to address was I was pre-diabetic. I was 50 plus pounds overweight. I couldn't get past this weight that I was at, no matter what I did. And I was making a concerted effort of tracking everything, tracking my movement, tracking my food. And truthfully, it's always been difficult for me to eat less than like 1,500 calories a day. I really feel more satisfied if I'm eating something like 1,800 calories. But guess what? That's not something that's really doable for my kind of body. And it really, the only time I ever truly became successful was I couldn't maintain it. I would have to eat something like 1,200 calories, and I would have to make sure that the carbs were absolutely non existent. And I just couldn't maintain it. It's just not possible for me. I think with the complexities of myself and the challenges of emotional overeating and some of the early trauma in my life, I just couldn't face not having the one thing that's always given me comfort, which is food. And I think that's when that's been difficult. So I heard about this drug and I was thinking, wow, I need to look at some of the research. So I started looking at the research. And what really truly convinced me was the research I was seeing on Mounjaro, that it's the dual peptide. It's the GLP plus the GIP drugs put together that really truly convinced me from the evidence I saw in the early research that this might be the drug for me. I didn't want to take Ozempic as much as I think it was the most readily available. It didn't seem like it would really address the complexity of my issues. That wasn't something scientific. I think it was just something in my gut. So I was very fortunate. I was changing primary care doctors. I spoke to my primary care doctor and I said, I really am afraid because my father was a diabetic who really struggled, lost vision, had trouble with his walking and heart. I really don't want to be a diabetic. And so she was readily available to prescribe me Mounjaro. I was very fortunate. So I started 2.5 years ago taking the very lowest dose. And I was really convinced, based on what I had seen in the science, that until my body stopped losing weight at the lowest dose, I was not going to change doses. I was going to stay on that dose, and no one could convince me to go higher. Now, granted, my therapist was argumentative about that because she felt like I was trying to sabotage my weight loss. But no, the side effects will convince you that you need to go slow, believe me. When you first start taking this drug, I don't think anyone really prepares you for the side effects. And you can do things to help yourself, like taking antacids, taking some kind of a drug, Prilosec. You can drink a lot more water because there's this constipation or diarrhea. There's a whole bunch of things, a feeling of nausea, just a weird feeling of discomfort in your stomach. And some people also get heartburn in the night because their stomach has still got food in it. And the complexity of side effects are there. And I don't want to underrate them or I don't want to make small of them. They're real. I still have side effects. I took my medication today, and so the side effects are there. But if you work closely with your doctor, you can help yourself with the side effects. You can be mindful in eating smaller meals. You can be mindful to make sure your last meal is 3 or 4 hours before you go to bed so that digestion at least goes further along so that when you lie down, the possibility of having this regurgitation that causes this kind of discomfort in your throat that leads to what they call the GLP-1 cough. So all of these are all problems. Some fatigue, loss of appetite, the risk of hair loss. I've had some of that. I'm taking the Nutrafol to see how that's going to help me. All of these things are real. And the muscle loss, I did something a year ago to look at my muscle to fat ratio. And this time I put the Hume band on so that I can monitor my fat and muscle in real time. Now, granted, it's probably not as accurate as going to a DEXA machine that they use in the medical field, but at least it gives me something that I can see and it helps me understand more about the complexity of my body and how much fat is there and how much subcutaneous fat and skeletal fat. It's really fascinating. So I'm learning a lot more about that. And I'll talk more about the Hume band and the Hume scale, which is a wonderful tool. But there is all of these risks. And I do suggest that you don't take them lightly. Have a very intense conversation with your doctor. For me, the reason I really took this seriously is that I was desperate to lose the weight. I knew I had really gotten so many tools down pat that I could be successful if I just had something that really helped my body more than anything to get over whatever it was that was keeping me from losing weight, which to this day I still don't really understand it. I think it's a combination of the chatter in my mind. I think it's about the feeling full. I think it's about how it's helping me think less about food and think more about my satisfaction when I eat. This is something that I don't think I ever felt when I didn't take this drug, is I didn't feel a sense of satiation. I didn't feel a sense of really feeling full until I started taking this medicine, which is phenomenal. All of those things are truthfully key issues to consider. So stay with me here because the next thing I'm thinking about is that what did my PhD not tell me? What did my years of research really didn't help me? You have to really understand the nutrition. And one of the things I've done a deep dive into is how much protein do I need to be eating to help my muscle mass stay more present and be beneficial? Are there supplements like creatinine, which I'm investigating, and I'm going to do an episode about that, or omega 3s? Are those things that I need to think about? More movement and more weightlifting. How can I help myself? Because really, I've seen an immense change in my measurements. I'm wearing a size 14, a 12 on the top. I am smaller in my waist than I've been in a long time. I was able to survive going through a really tough surgery in the late fall of 2024, and I had a really tough hip replacement in 2025. I didn't gain any weight. I have really stayed steady at a little bit below 200, which is amazing. Seriously, this is a weight that I haven't seen since I was in college. So now that I'm feeling more physically fit and capable, I'm doing my weightlifting. I am not long sessions, believe me, they're short. I'm doing my weightlifting. I'm doing my meditation. I'm doing my bands. I'm doing my walking. Everything is increasing. And then I got the Hume band to understand even more about my body composition. But I really truly want to understand more about how I can progressively go slowly, continue to increase muscle, lose fat, and the measurement on the scale. While it's important to me, I'm working with myself to feel a little less critical about what the scale says and more about some of the other elements that I have access to now that I'm measuring it. I'm measuring my size, my inches around my body. I'm measuring my muscles. I'm measuring my fat. I'm looking at my sleep. And for the first time in a long time, my blood pressure is amazing. I think today it was 106 over 60, and my pulse was like 82. This is like measurements I haven't ever had in a long time. My hemoglobin A1C is the lowest it's ever been. And I just feel more like I can get better sleep. I can do more that I think about a healthy lifestyle than I've ever had before. And I'm feeling encouraged. I want to feel healthy. I want to continue to be the best version of who I am. And I know it's complicated for me because guess what? I'm one of those people who wake up wanting donuts, or I'm one of those people who have dinner on a weekend and want some sweets or some cheesecake, and I'm having to deal with myself. And even if I've had sweets earlier or the day before or something like that, who cares? So all of those things are my struggle. And I think again, it's about my coping mechanism is food. And I'm working with myself to figure out other ways to cope with stress, emotional eating. I'm working with myself to do more mindfulness practices, more meditation, more things that I find enjoyable at journaling, reading, taking long walks, being outside in this freezing spring that we have. Our weight loss journey is not just about weight loss. It's about how we think of ourselves wholly, comprehensively, and that we want to maintain our wellness, not just our weight. And I don't want to just lose this weight and then come off this drug and then woohoo, throw everything to the wind. No, I know that's not the case. I know that this is a lifetime journey. And yes, is there a possibility that once I get to a goal weight or a goal muscle to fat ratio, that I will come off of the GLP-1 drugs? I'm not sure. I think the benefit, I had a good period of time last year where I had to be off of the drug because of the surgeries. I was off from May till almost August. And I have to say, the chatter is real in my brain about food and food choices. And I'm not sure if that's just because of the many years of dealing with an eating disorder, or it's something about the way that my body is facing the life. I don't know. It's very complicated, frankly. So if you're considering a GLP-1 drug, realize that it's not just something that's going to fix everything, that you need to bring tools of nutrition and movement and understanding the triggers around food for you, especially if you've been someone who's struggled with weight for many years. Because one of the things that I found when I was working towards my weight loss is I would get to where I would be static And then I would just feel exhausted maintaining the process. It seemed overwhelming. It seemed so strict, so rigid, and there was just so little enjoyment, especially if you're a foodie like me. I can't help it. I love to cook, I love to eat, I love to see all those wonderful meals that are held at Michelin restaurants. So those are real enjoyments for me. And frankly, I don't want to give some of that up. Yes. Do I want to move more? Yes. Do I want to be conscientious 80% of the time? Definitely. Do I want to enjoy myself with food 20% of the time? Perhaps. Maybe a little less, sometimes 15, sometimes 10. I'll have a balancing method. Frankly, life is too short. Think about all the things that you bring to the table, both positives and negatives, for your health journey, not just weight loss, but health journey. What are your blood markers? What is your blood pressure? What does your cognition feel like? Do you feel sharp? Do you feel awake? I swear, as I have refined more of the things with my body and movement and nutrition, I have felt a real big change in my energy. I have felt a change in my everything personally. Mm. So I'm not sure about some of the things that you might experience, but I do encourage you. Be well, my friends. We have this one precious life. Please subscribe. I'd love to see you here each week. I'm going to continue to talk about this because I've had a place where I'm stuck and I'm thinking of doing like a 30-day focus on my health journey. And why don't you join me? Okay. So I'll see you next time. Be well, my friends. You have a one precious life. Let's live it to the 80s and 90s. Bye bye. So thank you so much for joining me at Healthy by George. I hope you found the information inspiring and that it encourages you on your wellness journey. Because remember, your body, your well-being are a most precious gift, and every tiny action taken daily can make a huge difference. I hope the information here is educational purposes and is not meant to replace your medical care. See your doctor and talk about what works for you. If you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continuing creating content that inspires and empowers you to live your best life. Goodbye for now, and join me again at the next Healthy by George.